7:06 in the morning in the Arabian Sea, the Abraham Lincoln's radar picks up 8 contacts launching simultaneously from the Iranian coastline. 4 from the north, 4 from the east, and the formation responds exactly as it has responded to the last 2 Iranian attacks. The lead destroyer accelerates slightly north and orients its defensive systems toward the northern contacts. The trailing destroyer turns east and takes the eastern sector. Both ships move to their defensive positions with the practiced precision of crews who have run this specific response twice in the past 3 weeks and defeated it both times. They are doing the right thing. They have always done the right thing. That is the problem. Because at 7:06, before the formation has finished its maneuver, 6 cruise missiles that launched 2 minutes earlier from a position southwest of the formation below the radar horizon for the first 90 seconds of their flight, invisible to every sensor in the formation, until this exact moment rise above the horizon and appear on the tactical displays inside the corridor of open ocean that the formation's maneuver has just created between the 2 destroyers, not approaching from outside the gap. Inside it. Already inside it. 6 missiles in 4 miles of undefended ocean pointing straight at the Abraham Lincoln with no intercept solution assigned to any of them and no clean geometry for the destroyers to build one from, because both destroyers are oriented in the wrong directions, and building solutions to contacts behind the carrier would require crossing each other's positions. Iran spent 3 attacks measuring this moment. Everything that is happening right now is exactly what they stated would happen. To understand what 3 attacks can teach an adversary, you need to understand one thing about how a carrier strike group's defensive systems reveal themselves every time they work. The systems are not secret. The procedures are not secret. The engagement timings, the interceptor assignment rates, the maneuver responses, the gap geometries, all of it becomes visible the moment the formation engages an inbound threat. Every radar emission is a signal. Every interceptor launch is a data point. Every defensive maneuver is a measurement being taken by anyone patient enough to observe it. Iran was patient enough. The first attack came 6 weeks earlier. 4 missiles from the north, standard approach. The formation detected them at 22 miles and defeated them in 4 minutes and 12 seconds. Iran's signals aircraft orbiting 40 miles south recorded every emission, every launch angle, every engagement timing. What it extracted from 4 minutes of engagement data was one precise measurement the formation assigned 2 interceptors per inbound contact and launched them within 90 seconds of detection from the lead destroyer. The 4 missiles cost $80,000. What they purchased was the knowledge of how fast the formation reacts and from which ship. The second attack came 3 weeks later. 3 missiles from the east, same speed, different bearing. The formation detected them at 19 miles, 3 miles closer than the northern approach, because the eastern bearing placed the missiles behind a coastal headland that shortened the radar horizon. Detected later, 19 miles instead of 22. 31 fewer seconds of warning time on the eastern bearing than the northern one. 3 missiles. Clean defeat. 1 more measurement added to the picture. The third attack came 1 week before this morning. 8 missiles simultaneously 4 north, 4 east. 2-axis attack. The formation responded correctly. Lead destroyer north, trailing destroyer east, both ships maneuvering to their defensive positions. The maneuver worked. All 8 missiles defeated. And for 90 seconds during the maneuver, a sector of open ocean to the southwest of the formation opened to a width of 4 miles a gap between the 2 destroyers' coverage zones that does not exist at standard spacing and exists only when the formation executes this specific defensive response to this specific attack pattern. Iran measured the gap to within 40 meters. They measured the direction it opens. They measured exactly how long it stays open. 3 attacks, 3 measurements, 1 picture. Petty Officer First Class Marcus Webb submitted his analysis to the intelligence officer 4 days ago. Not a suspicion, not a feeling. A document 11 pages, formatted correctly, with timestamps and signal data from all 3 Iranian attacks cross-referenced against Iran's signals aircraft orbital pattern during each engagement. The document made one argument. The 3 attacks were not failed attacks. They were a calibration sequence. Each one measured a specific parameter of the formation's defensive response. The 4th attack would come from the southwest, bearing none of the 3 attacks had used. Time to arrive in the gap. The defensive maneuver opens, using the data from the previous 3 attacks to ensure the missiles entered the gap before the formation could close it. The intelligence officer reviewed the analysis and told Webb his pattern recognition was speculative. 3 attacks with different parameters was not a calibration sequence. It was 3 failed attempts with different approaches. The official assessment already distributed to the fleet was that Iran was running out of options. Webb's document was filed. Webb updated the analysis 3 days ago. He added one piece of data he had not included in the first version. Iran's signals aircraft used the same encrypted collection frequency during all 3 attacks, not similar frequencies. The same one. A reconnaissance aircraft running an opportunistic surveillance mission changes frequencies to avoid pattern recognition. An aircraft running a dedicated collection mission against a specific target uses the same frequency every time because it is collecting against a specific system and needs consistent data for the comparison to work. The same frequency 3 times was not reconnaissance. It was a program. He requested a meeting with the commanding officer directly. The intelligence officer told him the commanding officer's schedule did not accommodate junior analyst requests, and that the updated analysis had been noted. Webb went to the watch officer's console at 4 in the morning on the day he calculated the 4th attack would come, not his assigned station. The watch officer's console, where he had no authority to be, where he could see the tactical display from 2 feet away. The watch officer who took over at 4 did not know who Webb was or why he was there, and Webb did not explain because there was nothing to explain yet. He sat down and watched the southwestern bearing and waited. 6 minutes became 5. The 6 southwestern contacts appear on the tactical display at 7:07. The formation has been executing its defensive maneuver for 61 seconds. The gap to the southwest is at its maximum width, 4 miles of open ocean between the 2 destroyers' coverage zones. The 6 contacts are already inside it. Already inside the minimum engagement range for any interceptor that would need to cross one of the destroyer's positions to reach them. Already flying through the corridor that 3 attacks and 3 measurements and 1 filed report and 1 updated analysis and 1 request for a meeting that was not accommodated spent 6 weeks creating. The fire control computers flag all 6 contacts as geometry conflicts. Every intercept solution the automated system builds crosses a friendly ship's position. The system holds the solutions pending manual override. In the Combat Information Center, the tactical action officer is looking at 6 inbound contacts with no assigned weapons and a formation that is in the middle of a defensive maneuver and cannot reorient fast enough to build clean solutions from either destroyer in the time remaining. The gap will close in 53 seconds when the maneuver completes. 53 seconds is not enough time to build 6 manual solutions, launch 6 interceptors, and defeat 6 sea-skimming missiles in a 4-mile corridor with the current geometry. 2 of the 6 missiles reach the ship before the solution exists. The first impacts the forward hull above the waterline on the port side at 7:08. The warhead detonates inside the forward equipment space. The blast injures 14 crew members. 7 seriously. A fuel line ruptures and catches fire. The damage control team is moving before the echo of the detonation fades. The second missile impacts the island superstructure on the forward face below the primary radar array. The warhead detonates against the exterior plating. The array mounting buckles. 2 radar waveguides crack. The primary radar goes offline at 7:08. The formation is now fighting with a damaged ship and a degraded sensor picture, and 4 missiles still in the air inside the gap. Webb is already transmitting at 7:07. Not a contact report, not a request. A complete firing solution for all 6 southwestern contacts from the Abraham Lincoln's own vertical launch cells, formatted as a standard intercept assignment, transmitted directly to the Combat Information Center's tactical display. In the same second, the contacts appear on the screen. The carrier carries its own interceptors in its own cells. Not the destroyers, the carrier itself, These weapons are not routinely assigned during escort engagements because the destroyers are the formation's primary defensive layer, and the carrier's cells are held in reserve. The Fire Control System's automated geometry check did not consider the carrier as a candidate for these contacts because the system's default configuration routes gap sector intercepts to the nearest escort first. The nearest escort has a geometry conflict. The carrier does not. The carrier is between the two destroyers, not to the side of them, and its launch geometry to the 6 southwestern contacts clears both destroyer positions cleanly. The automated check missed this. Webb did not miss this. It is in the analysis the intelligence officer filed 4 days ago on page 7, paragraph 3, under the heading Possible Defensive Solution. The tactical action officer receives the transmission at 7:07. He looks at the geometry. He looks at 6 contacts inside the gap with no assigned interceptors. He looks at clean solutions from the carrier's own cells. He fires at 7:08. 4 of the remaining 4 missiles, the 4 still in the air, after the first 2 impacted the hull, are intercepted between 7:08 and 7:10, all clean kills, the carrier's own cells. Geometry, the automated system was not configured to find, and Webb had found 3 weeks ago and filed and updated and been told had been noted. The Abraham Lincoln's damage assessment is completed at 8:31. 14 crew members treated, 7 seriously. 2 requiring medical evacuation to the carrier group's medical facility. The fuel fire in the forward equipment space suppressed at 7:19. Primary radar offline backup array running the sensor picture. The ship fully operational at reduced capacity. Strike packages targeting the southwestern launch position reach it at 7:22. The position was identified from the missile's own launch emissions, the transient signals produced when 6 engines ignite simultaneously, tracked continuously from the moment they appeared at 7:05 and logged to a position accurate enough to target. 4 mobile launchers destroyed. The northern and eastern launch positions, also identified during the engagement, are struck at 7:29. All positions destroyed. Webb's analysis, the filed version, the updated version, and the firing geometry he transmitted at 7:07 is read by the commanding officer at 8:44, 97 minutes after the engagement ended. The commanding officer signs the analysis and routes it to Fleet Intelligence with one addition at the bottom. This document was submitted 4 days ago. My crew members are being evacuated because it was filed instead of acted on. Route this to every commanding officer in the fleet today. The analysis reaches every strike group by noon. Every formation running a standard 2-axis defensive maneuver begins running a gap sector geometry check before executing it. Every fire control system in the fleet is updated to include the carrier as a primary intercept candidate in gap sector engagements before the escort destroyers. Iran spent 6 weeks measuring a gap that opened for 90 seconds. The gap was real. The measurement was precise. The 4th attack exploited it exactly as designed. 2 missiles hit the ship. 14 crew members went down. The gap is documented in 11 pages of analysis that sat in a filing queue for 4 days. It is not in a filing queue anymore. It is in every fire control system in every carrier strike group in every ocean. Iran built the calibration with patience and precision. They measured correctly. They fired correctly. The missiles flew exactly where the measurement said they would fly. The gap opened exactly when 3 attacks said it would open. What they could not measure was what a petty officer first class does when his analysis is filed, whether he goes home or whether he goes to the watch officer's console at 4 in the morning and sits down and waits. Webb sat down. He waited. He transmitted at 7:07. 14 crew members, 4 Iranian launch positions. 1 firing solution built from a paragraph on page 7 of a document nobody read until 8:44. The gap is closed. It will not open again.